We have a number of nominees on the agenda, all of whom are on the agenda for the first time. And the minority has requested that they be held over, so that they will be held over. That's Greg Katsas, D.C. Circuit, Beaver Stock, Southern District, Alabama. Marks, Middle District, Alabama. Talley, Middle District, Alabama. Teeter, Kansas. There are also 2 U.S. attorney nominees on today's agenda that if we have a quorum, we can vote them out. I want to acknowledge, and I'm talking about what you wrote me about now, so you can know that. I want to acknowledge that I received a letter from the ranking member asking that I not put nominees on hearing or markup agendas who have not yet received a rating from the American Bar Association. 2 nominees fall into that category, so are on our agenda that we have not yet received ABA ratings. So I would address this request. Both nominees have had their materials into the committee for many weeks. One came on August 28th. The other came on September the 18th, being November the 2nd. According to what the ABA themselves have told us, this is enough time to provide a rating. Furthermore, I hear a lot from the other side about outside groups influencing the nomination process. I think letting the ABA, an outside group, influence when the Senate Judiciary Committee considers nominees lets outside groups hold nominees hostage. We're not going to allow any outside group to have the power to determine the schedule. Finally, as I've said on the floor this week more than once, it doesn't appear to me that the ABA ratings actually matter in practice to many on the other side of our aisle. They regularly and continually vote against well-qualified and qualified nominees. Sometimes they even argue that a nominee who received a well-qualified rating doesn't have enough experience or use that as a reason to vote against him or her. So I received and considered the minority's request, but don't believe it's good practice to allow this outside group to dictate the committee schedule, so that's why I put the nominees on today's agenda. Without the AB ratings, we'll have a lot more to say about what the ABA and its process, or lack thereof, at our next nomination hearing, where the ABA will be represented, because when they didn't give a rating or they gave a not qualified rating to somebody that was on yesterday's agenda, we called and asked them to testify that particular day, which was yesterday, but they did not have time to come at that particular time, but they did accept our invitation to appear. The date said, I just don't remember exactly what that date is. We have legislation on today's agenda. We're ready to consider 807, the Criminal Antitrust Anti-Retaliation Act. As I said last week, this is an important bill, and it's one that Senator Leahy and I have worked on for several years, both when he was chairman as well as now my being chairman. Too often, whistleblowers who expose waste, fraud, and abuse are treated like second-class citizens, or rather, how I'd like to say it, they're treated as skunks at a picnic. Many times they risk their careers simply by telling the truth. It happens in both the federal government and in the private business. This legislation that Senator Leahy and I are leading will protect criminal antitrust whistleblowers from workplace retaliation. In 2004, Congress passed the Antitrust Criminal Penalty Enhancement and Reform Act. The goal of that bill was to encourage self-reporting of criminal antitrust activity. However, the bill didn't provide any protection for innocent third parties who blow the whistle on criminal antitrust activity. In 2011, the Government Accountability Office issued a report recommending Congress consider adding a civil remedy for antitrust whistleblowers who have been subject to retaliation. And that's what this bill does. Since we're willing to incentivize folks to report their own bad behavior, then we ought to protect whistleblowers who report on the bad behavior of others. In this case, that bad behavior harms businesses, consumers, and overall economy. Over the years, we've worked with members, stakeholders, and the Department of Justice to iron out concerns and improve the bill. So this is a very narrowly focused bill that will strengthen the enforcement of our criminal antitrust laws. Let me remind my colleagues that the Senate unanimously passed similar legislation in each of the last two Congresses. So let's do so again and get this bill across the goal line and to the President's desk. I appreciate Senator Leahy's work on this legislation, and I would urge my colleagues on this committee as well as the Senate to do that.